my sisters, higher we shall go, moving forward.
You may not win an election, but don't lose your direction. I was running for Senate. I didn't know I was running to become the Pioneer Mandate Secretary for Women of the Federal Capital Territory. Excellence is never by chance, it's by choice. Experience is not the best teacher. Observation is. The end can be better and not bitter.
Prudent women, virtuous women.
My name is Adedayo Benjamins-Laniyi, Ni Olumide, daughter of the late Admiral Olufemi Olumide and Barbara Teresa Olumide, a Trinidadian. I was born 60 years ago now, and at the Lagos Island Maternity Hospital. I was one of the first babies in 1965. I have an honorary doctorate in humanities, and also I am presently serving as the Pioneer Mandate Secretary for Women Affairs of the Federal Capital Territory, in charge of children and vulnerable populations within the Federal Capital Territory. Any population that has an implicated vulnerable cluster of women and children and persons with disabilities. So that's as a Mandate Secretary, which is also a reference for Commissioner for Women Affairs of the Federal Capital Territory, and the first in 48 years. I am an ordained pastor with the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and my husband and I pastor the Throne Room Parish of the RCCG that meets at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. He's a provincial pastor, and I'm the pastor's wife. I also serve in the reference space of women advocacy, women in politics, political participation, because I ran as an aspirant for the position of Senator of the Federal Capital Territory in 2022. And out of that political audacity, I evolved into the space where I was identified and recommended for political appointeeship that positioned me here in the FCT for the office of Pioneer Mandate Secretary. In my previous places of endeavor, I'm an entrepreneur. My husband and I have built a company in media, in printing, and other related businesses, well, related and diversified. Doxa Digital, Doxa Media, Doxa Estate, Doxa Oil and Gas, Doxa as a group of entrepreneurial initiatives, and it has become a school of enterprise and training in artisanship and entrepreneurship for, right now, I believe if we were to have done certification, we probably would have well over, not individuals now, but in terms of companies, nothing less than about 32 companies that we have, through our own invested training and curating of entrepreneurial capacity, have trained up CEOs as well as other referenced service entrepreneurs within the industry of media, events, and also corporate communications. I'm Omo Ogun, Iyawo Ogbomoso. I'm from Ogun State, Abeokuta, South, and I am, like I said, of the Olumide Kintel Kejibo family, and my great-grandfather was the third Balogun of Christian, of Egba Christians. That's Abeokuta Christians. Also, my mom is from Trinidad, so I am a daughter of the West Indies. I'm a citizen, actually, I'm a dual citizen of the West Indies, Trinidad and Tobago. And it's interesting also because my mom, her grandmom, is a survivor of the Holocaust. She was Jewish, so I have Jewish antecedent, Trinidadian, Caribbean, Nigerian, Abeokuta, and then I'm married to the first Christian house of Baptist Christian house of Ogbomoso, the Laniyi family. So that's my background, and I've been in the Federal Capital Territory as an Secretarian for the last 33 years. I came here as a youth corper, and I served in the household of the pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Yeah, I served in the church, actually, as a youth corper who served in the church, even though I was given the opportunity and posted to the, it wasn't called Transcorp Hilton then, it was called the Nikon Noga. So I was really privileged. I impressed my commandant in the NYSC camp so much, orientation camp, that he insisted he was going to make me serve at the number one posting of choice, which was Nikon Noga Hilton. I said, no, I'm already going to the church. He said, don't mind her, she doesn't know what she's saying. But we all went there that day, 10 of us, and they rejected every one of us. And I was very, very spiritual. I said, why would they reject? No, I'm not going to agree that my God didn't tell me I was going to be rejected. But you know, it's very interesting. I went back and prayed a prayer, and the answer I got from the prayer was that go back, and what God explained to me, God made me choose between glamour and sacrifice. It was like a pair of lungs, and I saw the lungs and my heart was beating, and God said, now I'm watching you, I'm watching your heart. And I saw Hilton with lights and then blood on the other side. So God said, choose. And he said, I'm watching your heart. And God knew why. Because somehow in all that delay, I got attracted to the whole Nikon Noga Hilton packaging. I mean, it was the posting of choice. So I was like, In my heart, I didn't let anybody. I was still doing like, the humble youth corper. God saw my heart. At that point, I knew I was in trouble. I now said, God, please have mercy on me. And he said, so what do you do? And all that came to me was, just ask the Holy Spirit to guide you. And he told me to say to him, what does not please God, I cannot choose. And I know it will not please God that I choose the way of glamour over sacrifice. I said that. And it was as though, just like I smiled, like God smiled at me and said, clever girl. So it was like, go. So when I got there and they still rejected me, I knew I was in the will of God. The amazing thing is they rejected me there. I ended up with a job, long story short, at the Sheraton. I worked at Sheraton for 7 years. From Sheraton, I ended up working at the Transcorp Hilton. I rose to the position of the assistant sales and marketing manager in charge of PR. I served with them 6 months, and then it was time for me to move. Another conversation. My life and its milestones have always been a conversation. So another conversation with God redirected my life from Hilton to my entrepreneurial engagement with Doxa full-time. It's a heart for humanity. It's compassion. It's inspiration fired by mentorship. I found an amazing mentor in Her Excellency, the First Lady. The way in which she structures, organizes, and strategizes her projects as humanitarian action, not for one, but for all. And her priority is always the people at the community. Families at community level. So she's taught me through advocacy that it's not about a woman empowering women. It's about a woman being a pivot, a leader, a driver, an inspiration that guides the delivery of policies of impact through her emotional intelligence, through her opportunity as a woman of first reference, maybe like her, who's the first lady. Then we have excellencies, wives of governors, executive governors, and she's very particular about protocol. Very, very particular. So that you don't breach protocol by trying to overreach one person to know this. No. Follow your track. And when you follow your track, it restrains you from crossing the track. You must grow. You grow to have the connection. You cannot, as I am, I have friends who are wives of governors. But no, just because they are my friends from school does not mean that I'm their peer in the place of office positionally. First Lady makes you understand that. So I'm inspired and realize that humanitarian action is not something you do as your theory submission for your PhD dissertation. It's not political campaign action, because you find a lot of people doing a lot of humanitarian work for political points. But once it's done, I used to think they're very generous, till I found out, no, it's the politics. Oh. So I'm a social entrepreneur, really at heart. I am. I love making not just people, but communities happy. And I somehow, through my personal experiences where there's been a lot of misplaced conjecture about me. You see me and people imagine me as different from who I am, what I am. Maybe that's what I could have been, proud, snobbish, and all of that. But experience has taught me. I was someone who's been misunderstood to understand what it means to be misunderstood. I'm someone who has had her own experiences where I have suffered neglect as a child, even abuse as a child. So I don't just feel this, I know these things. And because of how I know, it informs how I connect, how I communicate, how it's important for me to create inclusion in a moment. So that people don't just come into a place feeling like I've come here to do someone a favor. You are favored being here in the first place. You think you're helping the orphan. That orphan is helping you to connect to the humanity that blesses you with divinity, with God. It says, because of the kindness you show to the widow, to the orphan, to the needy, in your time of trouble, God says He will rise up and defend you. So you are doing her a favor. So for me, by inspiration, by mentorship, Her Excellency Mama P is a big inspiration for me. She so much confidence. Here's a woman that so many people found it easy to deride. Different things. There is God is not a lie. There is God. And whether you're first lady or any lady, you better know that is a reality. Her grit when it comes to, again, political engagement, conversation, direction, mentorship. I am very privileged. I am very privileged to be mentored by first ladies over time, dispensationally. I've had the privilege of being mentored, being exposed through media. I used to, okay, I didn't mention that, but as a host MC and really at Nigeria's top position, arguably, yeah, you would say, who's the number one MC, female MC in Nigeria at the time, there would have been, without any question, they would have picked, I would have been one of two. And if they had said the best overall MC, I would still have been one of two with a male. So as a master's host, master presenter, a communicator, it exposed me to every elite reference of events, personality, corporate, governmental, diplomatic, to the United Nations, to Davos, all of this without being trained in broadcasting. That's the incredible grace of the gift of God that makes room for you. I'm a woman of faith, not as a pastor, not as, but just because by experience again, experience has brought me to the place of faith. I didn't know God. God found me. That makes me a little emotional, but He did. As a prodigal daughter, God found me, brought me to Himself, and then brought me to the world. So I'm a very grateful to say she who is forgiven much, loves much. It's not that I was a bad girl, but honestly, I could have been gone, lost. There are many people like me. I didn't have the affection or the connection or the encouragement. People always saw me as being strong, so they didn't know they needed to take care of this girl. And my parents had gotten divorced when I was 7, like I said, so my grandma raised me. I mean, she loved me, but it's not the same. So that's why I understand what it means not to be raised by your own. I'm a child of divorce, myself and my sisters. Like I said, I was the oldest of the 3 of us. Divorce rips. I mean, if you tell me to tell a woman to stay in a marriage where she's being abused, no. But I will say, divorce is not convenient for nobody. And the most implicated reference is the children of the divorce. It throws you into a very challenging place. Personal trauma, the insecurities. Yes, I turned 60. I still have issues I'm dealing with that came out of that. But I've learned not to blame my parents. I've learned to become bigger than the pain and to blame. I've learned that my experience and being strengthened from it is to make me a parent to those who also become casualties of divorce, either done casually or as a consequence of very significant causes, such as physical, life-threatening spousal abuse, or separation that has led to, you understand, a scenario where there's really no connection between them. But where people can learn to put self-pride aside and reset. where you can allow yourselves to really take time off and reflect and reset. I would appeal to spouses to do that. You don't have to get divorced to redeem the situation. You know, my dad and mom, at the end of everything, they died still in love with each other. But life had moved on. Pride of my father as an African man. My mother still weeps every day, almost for that loss of this marriage and her children. She's lived a lonely life. Because I didn't grow up with my mom. I was 7, so 53 years of my life I've been without my mother. If I've seen my mother in 53 years, put it all together, it's not up to 1 year yet. There is a lot in there. But just to say that, I would rather that you work through the issues than you give up on each other. You loved each other to come into the relationship, into marriage. Even if it happened in a hurry, everything can be redeemed with time and truth. Don't just cover things up. Time and truth. Truth with the right kind of mature, supervised, professional, godly counsel will help you to reveal the different parts. You can see where, even if you are pointing a finger, you yourself have things that you could have been better. Most times it's communication, it's misunderstanding. You're coming from two separate cultural backgrounds, tribal, or you're coming different throws. So how do you tackle? So when you're a child, you think, you talk, you act as a child, but when you become mature, you put away childish things. And that's what I believe many of us, given time, when it comes to marriage issues, with time, with maturity, you can let go, you can forgive, you can understand, and you can come even into sweeter, stronger relationship than when you started and whatever you've gone through. The end can be better and not bitter. The I standing in the word impact is for innovation. Through innovation, you can translate projects transformationally, nationally, for community, for institution, and for the expression of national direction. For instance, in Nigeria right now, renewed hope is a grid of national human capacity development and intervention for a nation and for legacy building in terms of the interventions, policies, and projects of a dispensation, such as the present dispensation of His Excellency, the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So, when we talk about impact and looking at how I now, as privileged to be pioneer mandate secretary for women, for children in the FCT, the story is, first of all, that this has happened, the first in 48 years, to coordinate and bring about the intersection of intervention for sub-national representation of women, children, and communities, vulnerable communities of the Federal Capital Territory. For the longest time ever, the FCT indigents have always not just complained, but called out to the fact that they've been marginalized. And because of the invasive development in terms of human resource of Nigerians of other tribal representation in the Federal Capital Territory, because of its status as the capital and its status also as the home of both the presidency, the diplomatic, all of the referenced governmental and all of the arms of national representation. Very quickly, the population of Abuja became a non-indigenous population. That demographic challenged the opportunity of the indigenes. And what initially they didn't understand was a sale of their opportunity, because, of course, the government had an arrangement where land that they had taken over was contractually paid for, transactionally, exchanged. But generations have come after us that didn't know anything about that. And they are like, no, we've been cheated of our land, we've been cheated of our opportunities. And now they see the reason that they really have to make sure that they really have to assert their position. I'm stating all this because there's a history to the context of how my work has become a work of such critical community engagement. A lot of things happen in Abuja that happen within the city center and do not happen in the ruralities, do not happen in the location of the populations, one of the indigenes and of settlers outside the Abuja Municipal Area Council. So in all the other referenced 5 area councils, local government representations, Kuje, Abaji, Gwagwalada, Buhari, I'm not sure what I've missed out right now. You find that you don't have that policy implementation of global, national, pivotal policies for the woman and for the child reaching those remote locations, leaving no community behind, and giving priority and access to vulnerable communities, persons with disabilities, women, the adolescent girl child, and children of referenced vulnerability. Now, with the coming on of this secretariat, in the 48th year of Federal Capital Territory's constitutional existence, what has the challenge and charge been? What came to me immediately, apart from wanting to make sure that I set up a legacy foundation for every other mandate secretary that will come after me, knowing that I'm 001, is to make sure that what I do is legacy, not by programs or projects, but by policy. One of the first things I looked for was the most vulnerable. Who were the most vulnerable for me? In the trajectory of women and children is the adolescent girl child. I set up an adolescent girl child desk and even a department ahead of there being any formal organogram. And then I went for persons with disabilities. Why? Women and the girl child with disabilities are the most vulnerable of the vulnerable. The most sexually abused in terms of rape in this woman is a deaf woman. She can't call out, she can't scream out. She can be doing that, but she can't tell you her experience. Women with disabilities on wheelchairs can't walk, are thrown out of their wheelchairs by husbands or intimate partners and are left to crawl or remain there until someone comes back in after 3 days to help them back into their chair if the chair has not been broken to pieces. This is the reality. So you're talking gender-based violence against these very vulnerable communities. We have leprosy communities in FCT where there had been no water. How does a leper somebody who's been healed of leprosy, but of course the stigma, so they're called. How do you see them going to fetch water like this in one remote location? I saw that when I went campaigning. Because they are still voters. The vote doesn't have leprosy. The vote doesn't have disability. These voters are people. They are families. They have children who don't have leprosy, who need to go to school, but are stigmatized because their parents, they're children of parents who are former lepers, and they live in leper colonies. Their wives, when they want to have babies, nobody in the primary healthcare system wants to go near them because the mind is that this is a leper. So I looked at those very vulnerable clusters. I also looked at the context of GBV, not as an elite 16-day celebration, but to use the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in Nigeria, in the FCT, to turn it away from the walkathon to what I call the waka-thon. So we got into the area councils. We set up conversations through the gatekeepers, the traditional rulers. And through them, with their permission, we organized their wives to become our principal advocates of ending GBV in the grassroots communities through the voices of the royal fathers, through their wives, the queen matriarch mothers of the 17 chiefdoms. This intervention has become such a unique model that right now at the UN Women level, at the UNICEF level, here in Abuja, because we're also privileged to have these institutional global representations. We are the landlords of the UN in Nigeria. We are the landlords of the World Bank in Nigeria. That's FCT. That's our advantage. I'm also here as the sub-national first reference commissioner of women affairs connected to the national grid of the Ministry of Women Affairs. So at woman o'clock, a man o'clock, as it is right now, I am one of the fingers of the clock here in FCT. So that domiciled here, what it has also done is now helped me in the place of translating policy. It's to people, it's to communities. Her Excellency, the First Lady, helped me to understand that until your advocacy reaches the community, you are not doing anything truly humanitarian. Who is it for? The elites, where we sit in air-conditioned 5-star hotels and converse for 16 days about GBV without going to the ruralities to meet Ego, Mama Ego, that is suffering from Baba Suleiman's boxing frustration. The reality, when it hit me, that is how I became a real grassroots. You know, the first program Her Excellency, the First Lady, had in Abuja was in the disability community of Karumajiji. The first program as the First Lady before, in fact, she was still First Lady in waiting before the inauguration. She organized all the women who had gone on campaign to turn them from campaign team to advocacy. And that was the first place she went. And let me tell you, that day, it changed the mindset of the disability community towards the dispensation of renewed hope, that this is real. Now, for me, therefore, when I look at these stories, right now, because of that very intentional investment in profiling and prioritizing the disability challenge of women and the adolescent girls, the World Bank identified my my intentionality, and wrote a letter to the Honorable Minister of FCT and requested that the Mandate Secretary of Women Affairs of the FCT Secretariat be the ones to work with their team to set up and implement the Disability Act that had been in abeyance for over 10 years in the Federal Capital Territory. Right now, I set up a disability desk, and a person with disability that had been a staff of FCT for all these years and actually is one of Nigeria's finest, highest level advocates within the NGO space with Jonadep, is the team lead and head of my desk. Do you know, even in the FCT administration, people actually mocked her and said, I don't know what you think you are, thinking there's a disability desk. This is a global implementation. It has nothing to do with sentiments. If you cannot establish your institutional reference as an administration of governance with inclusion as a priority and even a pivot, then what exactly are you driving? Everything about the woman is cross-cutting. Health, economic, education, agriculture. I mean, through the First Lady, what we've set up through the RHI. Now, I'm so uniquely privileged, not only to be the Pioneer Mandate Secretary, but to be the FCT RHI coordinator for the Office of the First Lady. So what it means is that her projects are the projects that I, as her coordinator, have to implement within the geopolitics of the space FCT that I'm in. One of the most amazing for me is the agricultural support interventions of Her Excellency the First Lady. I never understood agriculture as the thrust of food security for a nation like I've come to understand it practically. My heart breaks actually when I think of my dad, who tried so hard to get me to love farming before he transited. I did not. It took the First Lady's projects to make me wish I had the power to raise my father from the grave and see that now, Daddy, I am ready. Now I'm going to take his farm that I had left dormant to convert it to an agricultural intervention of food security, because now I see how critical it is. From the Every Home a Garden competition project, where we actually produced one of the finalists for that national competition. A woman I encouraged from within my secretariat who knew zero about agriculture and now has become a lead when it comes to home gardening, home gardening consultation. She just retired, but you know what? She's busier now than she ever was as a civil servant in 35 years. She was also the head of my adolescent girls' desk. And the impact of that agricultural support initiative started with 20 beneficiaries of 500,000 naira each. 20 beneficiaries got 500,000 naira each to invest in the farm as a grant. Of the 20, 5 of them were women farmers with disabilities. One of them ended up, through her 1 year intervention to the 500,000 naira grant, and now she put it, building a house, still getting seed for the next season's planting. Right now in Kuje, we have set up what we call the Muje Kuje pilot, which is the implementation next level now, from urban farming to the whole reference of young farmers clubs, every home a garden, fishery, everything. Kuje has become the pilot location. I was able to take over the 15-year-old redundant farm. It's not been used in 15 years. That belongs to the women department of the then gender department under social development services. Nothing. Totally redundant. Fish tanks, goat husbandry, what do you call it, a training unit, veterinary training unit, 250 square meter warehouse, all of this. But we turned it around. It became Sanosha, celebration of World Food Day and International Day of the Rural Woman, with the visitation of the Honorable Minister of State for Agriculture and the Honorable Minister of Livestock. They were like totally amazed at the very deliberate, intentional intervention that had gone into it. Now they are working with us to help us scale it. Let's go to Kwali. The Akpu women with UN Women were able to set up with a grant. Not too much, but significant enough for me to do something significant. And we turned that community of Akpu women traders to an organized market, trading market. UN Women helped us to build a new work shed for them, put in the borehole tank, do a wash designed with toilets and everything that we're going to be commissioning in December. This has so impacted the women who are selling Akpu are building houses now in Great Cheddar. In terms of impact from policy to that which is a delivery of the promise of renewed hope, of the global action and intervention, SDG 5, SDG 6 for women, for for sanitation, water, and health in terms of the environmental management, for the 11 in terms of global partnerships. What we are seeing is just an incredible impact. Don't forget that I'm coming from a place where I ran for Senate in the FCT. So that translates how a woman in the space of political participation can become such a significant reference for impact. That's why I say you may not win an election, but don't lose your direction. What was in it in terms of your mindset when you presented yourself as an aspirant for a particular office? I was running for Senate. I didn't know I was running to become the Pioneer Mandate Secretary for Women of the Federal Capital Territory. So outcomes are products of the invested integrity of your pursuit. And that's what I've found I've become. Henry Thoreau, French philosopher, is my absolute favorite quote. Says that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and strives to live the life he or she, as women, that we have imagined, you will meet with success. It says you will, in common hours, in a place of ordinary pursuit. Once you put in the extra, you will have an extraordinary product, an extraordinary result, an extraordinary report, and if you're consistent enough, an extraordinary legacy. Her Excellency, the First Lady, didn't just get here like we're celebrating all these projects, all these programs, and all these deliverables. No. As a young girl, she was one of the youngest ever First Ladies as a governor's wife. As a First Lady now of the nation, she's the oldest, the eldest of First Ladies in the office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria's First Lady's reference. You look at that. So this didn't just happen overnight, but over many nights. And she just continued to deploy what she had curated as a strength. Someone commented to me the other day, I said, really? She's into so much legacy? I said, it's important how you see what you see. Something that in this atmosphere we read and we say, it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. If what you're looking at is still blinded by your lens of bias, either tribally, by religion, by politics, renewed hope at the end of the day is not a Muslim ticket. It's a national delivery and product of humanitarian action and community impact. My top 3 priorities for women in the FCT, first and foremost, is to properly harness the structure of the Secretariat of Women Affairs as one that is resilient, is truly, concretely a foundation for every other structure to be built upon. This is very important. Otherwise, everything I'm doing is pie in the sky. I don't want to do this for me. I want to be able to deliver for my principals and for the challenge as a pioneer, a trailblazer. That which didn't just break hard ground, but built the foundation for the skyscraper reference of impact. That is my job. That for me is assignment. The next thing is to make sure that, like we say, we design the delivery of the framework that I'm talking about, from the place of budget, from the place of organogram, to the implementations of that policy through frameworks that are resilient. They are resilient and they're able to hinge and scale what at constitutional level. You know, we're talking about reserve seats in the National Assembly. When I went to the Royal Fathers, I said we need reserve seats in the traditional assembly. We needed to bring women into the conversation and into the decisions that impact the interpretation of global, national, constitutional discussions. For the woman here, what is happening as a conversation at the National Assembly? You need women who can speak with the right culture or pedigree of respect and reverence to the patriarchy and get them to converse around harmful traditional practices, ending female genital mutilation, ending infanticide, ending cultural norms that are anomaly for women in this time of progressive change for women all over the world. And what we are requesting is not to confront or to reduce the position of men culturally, but to bring women to a place where men don't see them as threatening the cultural balance, but rather bringing a quality of social value that resets those things that have impoverished rural traditional communities. So when you see that, getting your wife to have an earning power, to own land, to have commercial value to her for oh so long unpaid labor as a stay-at-home mama, as a caregiver. You see that even you as the man right now who's being so challenged even by the economy of scales, because how many people are going to bring all those things they used to bring to the kings and the chiefs and everybody? You have to earn your way. Even missionaries know now, there's no such thing, I'm a full-time missionary and you're not working. You have to be a tent maker. So the reality, therefore, is that when you empower a woman economically, you are not empowering her as a threat to your ego or the patriarchy. You are endowing, it's an endowment for a new pedigree of women of impact, of influence, of prosperity, and it's for the prosperity of all in the community. One of my stories is of a Marian girl that I met during the campaign selling akara. She makes herself in papi, and she confronted me and said, "You people are coming here and they're talking about campaign. We know you people. You just come here, you get our votes, you use us and you walk away." I said, "I promise you it will not be so." She said, "No." That same night, I returned to her with her because I was so challenged by how she challenged me. And I knew at that time that there was a significant amount of largesse being given out in terms of food products and things like that from the office of actually Mr. President's son, Sheitinu. And I went there and I asked and I was given this. They came with me with escort all the way to Papi. I said, "Where's Maria?" They called her. She couldn't understand. I said, all your women and everything I gave to her. Those women now, where I go, they go. In fact, they get there before me. She said, "Mommy proved me wrong." She came back. Much more than that. The health interventions for women through the Health Secretariat and the Mandate Secretary, Dr. Adedayo Benjamins-Laniyi, who with me is my sister mandate. There are just two of us, women, as mandate secretaries, commissioners in the FCT. But it's about collaboration. From the cooperative, as they earn money and they do Adedayo, we can begin to negotiate with them to get their own for farmland, for housing, for all of these things. And before you know what is happening, we need shelters. So for me, prosperity economically, in terms of setting up an effective financial model, very, very important to me. But where there's no health, there's no wealth. So health, and taking care of their health and taking care of them as caregivers of people who have challenged health, like maybe a child with sickle cell, or they themselves have terminal health conditions, or their spouse, or somebody, because this immediately implicates a woman economically. So you cannot successfully say, "Oh, I've done this," and you've not taken care of. Take care of the woman, her emotional health. And mental health is so key to her whole, people don't realize this. And that's why what is more important to me is GDH, not GDP. Gross domestic product, gross domestic happiness. Once you have GDH, once you have GDH, everything will GDP. Well, the first impact is what Prudent Women are celebrating me for and resetting my profile as a celebrity of impact. And I would like to use this opportunity first to thank the prudent woman of the Prudent Women, the prudent woman of the Prudent Women, your good self, for your amazing intentionality with this project and following it through. You know, excellence is never by chance, it's by choice. And innovation, that is the key to unlocking transformation, begins with an inspired idea that you commit to produce. It's a production. That's why every vision is for an appointed time. I say, write it, make it plain, so that those who read it can run with it. Prudent Women is a vision product. And it is, for me, a privilege to be seen and profiled amongst the 100. To be one of 100 is to be one. And that I am not just grateful for, I take it also as a call to action. A call to action as defined by this prestigious accolade and award and recognition, is to mentor 3. Mentorship is what I live. Mentorship is what I live. And the greatest, most effective tool for mentorship is you, is the individual, it's me, my lifestyle. When my life speaks to those lives, that's the first mental reset. It's a mindset reset. Mentorship is just resetting the mentality. I say, if it doesn't happen in the mind, it's never going to happen in the hand. And when it happens in the mind, what are you resetting? Values. It's not about, earning power. No. It's values, virtue, a woman's dignity as a CEO or as a student, a jambite. Your reputational collateral is your impact statement. Can you be trusted? Can you be tested? Can you be trusted? And when you can be tested and trusted, you become the reference and the mark for recommendation, for commendation and recommendation. Working with a legacy of mentoring, I've done it without even understanding that is what I was doing. I was just investing in young girls what nobody took time to invest in me. I didn't want to see them make the kind of mistakes that I had made. They were costly. It doesn't have to cost you that. Experience is not the best teacher. Observation is. Experience can be a costly teacher. You end up being collateral. You end up being a casualty. Collateral damage can be significant damage. So what then is the teaching? Many big girls, as we call them, are girls suffering from quantum depression. Errors of the past, stigma they are carrying. They don't even know how to get rid of the baggage. They see where they missed it, and they don't know how to find their way anymore. So for me, when I mentor you from the place of your mind. I've got to get your mind to even connect with the how I am, who I am, and the who and the how I am. Then it's your choice whether you want to be mentored through the values. But from me, you will learn one thing. If you refuse to connect with me, you missed what you could have gotten from me. So for me, and then when I mentor one, I always challenge the one to mentor 5. I don't know why, it's just my calculation. When I started in government girls secondary school with 50 girls, I mentored 50 who mentored 5 each. And each of those 5, I made them mentor 1 each. In the FCT, I mentor in every 6 area council, 62 wards, another 5 each that I make mentor, 10 each that I make mentor, I make them to mentor 5 each, and each of the 5, another 1 each. For me, I don't know why it's like that. Whoever you are, you will mentor 5, you will mentor 1, and by the end of that, I have a live stream. I'm a model to models. My reference is not to be a mother, but to be a model. And to be super model. So, yeah, for me, you raise champions by facing your challenges and helping them to face and go through theirs. And amen, I pray I'll be such an inspiration that is what they will do, and that is who they will become. Champions as prudent women mentees.